is muted. All right.
Oh.
You should be able to hear us now, hopefully. Sorry about that. Yeah.
All right.
Are we good?
Yeah, if y'all can let us know. We accidentally had the mute button on there.
Is it give us a thumbs up if it's working now.
Probably our children. They probably are trying to mute us.
No. No, they don't care that much to sabotage. All right. So as a U.S. citizen, you are always able to come into the United States. Of course, if you have a warrant out for your arrest, then you're going to get arrested at the airport most likely, and if they know about it. So, but this is primarily for lawful permanent residents. And thank you so much, Ellie, for letting us know. And over the past year, we've been getting this question. I'm a permanent resident. I don't have a criminal record. I don't have any drug charges. I didn't commit fraud in getting my green card. I'm totally good. I don't have anything to worry about in my life. I've never worried about this before until everybody started getting on TikTok and social media and all of this immigration chaos and fiasco and seeing all the people getting arrested. I'm completely freaked out and scared. I don't want to go back to my country. I'm supposed to be visiting my mom in the Philippines, and I'm just afraid. So if you fall under the category that I just mentioned, these things, you're all good with regard to all these things. The vast majority of lawful permanent residents should be able to travel out of the United States and come back in. We really are talking about people who, and we're going to discuss, who may fall under these different categories that I just mentioned. And if we have anything that's kind of specific to the topic, we're going to answer the question. So if you are a lawful permanent resident, right? And let's just start off with the most obvious thing, maybe not so obvious, is criminal convictions. Okay. You are a lawful permanent resident and you have a criminal conviction. Let's say it's a DUI, right? You have a certified disposition that you pled guilty to DUI, driving under the influence of alcohol. You have a conviction and it was 5 years ago. You have a certified disposition and it shows that you have paid your fines. You're good. You're no longer on probation. You leave the United States. Is it going to be okay if you come back in? That's one of our top questions. Is it going to be okay if I come back in with a reckless driving ticket? So a reckless driving ticket and a DUI are typically not going to be defined as crimes of moral turpitude. So you can be inadmissible to come into the United States, right? If you travel outside the United States as a lawful permanent resident, you can, even though you have your permanent resident, and even though you've been a permanent resident for 15, 20 years, even if you have U.S. citizen children and U.S. citizen spouse, you can still be inadmissible for a crime of moral turpitude. And what is a crime of moral turpitude? It's a interesting phrase.
That's right. So as Radlin said, there, even if you have a green card, if you're re-entering the United States, you may be inadmissible if you have one of these, several crimes, but one is crimes involving moral turpitude, as she said. And what are some crimes involving moral turpitude? These are things like theft, there's fraud, obstruction of justice, domestic assault and battery might be a crime involving moral turpitude. It depends. And of course, the violent crimes, things like, murder, kidnapping, those of course are crimes involving moral turpitude. But where it gets a little tricky, what we've seen in our practice is these things like, theft and fraud that, are not great. I'm not suggesting that it's great to commit any of these crimes, domestic assault and battery, but these are the kinds of things that, happen more often than you might think. And if you don't believe me, go down to your local county courthouse or city courthouse on any given day. And, you'll see some pretty average, regular looking folks down there that look like your neighbors. And they've got domestic assault and battery cases because they had a fight with their spouse, or, Maybe they had a misunderstanding about something and have a theft charge or a fraud charge that somebody else brought against them. So these things can absolutely happen. You don't have to be a hardcore criminal to find
Yeah.
yourself in a position like this.
Such a good point. Absolutely. And with those, as John mentioned, you don't think shoplifting is a big deal, right? I mean, I was going to say everybody shoplifts, right? Not everybody shoplifts, but I do like to say, hopefully I say this during every live, sometimes good people do the wrong things or bad things. Someone who was thinking about hiring us, he said, Attorney Mendoza, have you ever handled a case with a criminal record? And I said, we represent human beings, so of course we have, right?
That's right.
So sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's that's the thing I want to stress. Also, drug crimes. Drug crimes are absolutely a problem. The exception being a single possession of marijuana under 30 grams. But with these other things, these crimes involving moral turpitude, you want to really be careful because the real trap that comes from the CIMTs, as we call them, is that a lot of these crimes, as I said, are very common. And as a result of being so common, most courts have diversion programs for these kinds of crimes. So, you go to court, maybe it's the very first time you've ever had a fight with your spouse, and the court finds that the facts would be sufficient for a finding of guilt, but they set the matter out for 1 year and say, look, go do some marriage counseling, do some anger management classes. We're going to come back in a year from now and we'll dismiss the charge. They do these for theft charges, solicitation of prostitution charges. They do them for all kinds of charges. And the trap is that for immigration purposes, that is still a conviction. So if you went to court for a charge, you had it under advisement for a year, you came back, the judge dismissed it, but the paperwork shows the facts were sufficient, then you basically have a conviction on your hands for immigration purposes. So you want to be really, really careful. Where this is all going back to is if you are wondering whether you can travel or not, you're going to want to ask yourself, hey, do I fall into that category? Do I have, one of these charges? I did criminal defense work for many years, and one of the common charges I saw, believe it or not, was obstruction of justice. You would be surprised how many people were coming out of a bar or driving and had been drinking and got into an argument with the police officer, or saw one of their friends getting arrested or one of their friends getting into trouble with a police officer and inserted themselves into the situation. And the next thing they know, they wake up the next morning with a hangover and an obstruction of justice charge. Obstruction of justice is a problem. That is a crime involving moral turpitude. And so, again, you don't have to be, a plotting serial killer to be one of the people who is falling into these categories. You might just been down at Peabody's last night with some friends and, things got heated. The next thing you know, you've got an obstruction of justice charge. So
absolutely.
If you have one of those, then you need to be careful. Okay.
Yeah. And John's talking about obstruction of justice. I'll speak a little bit on theft. Theft and shoplifting is extremely common, unfortunately. Hey, Trevor, how are you? Hello to everybody.
Yep.
Hi, Lakeisha and Joe and Ellie. Thank you guys for joining us. But theft is fairly common, and it's a lot of times in the context of shoplifting, and sometimes people actually shoplift, and the mens rea is there. They take things and they change tags or whatever. But sometimes people walk out with things and they don't even realize it. I mean, we had to fight one theft case where a mom, busy mom, had the baby in the stroller and just tossed something in the bottom, totally forgot about it, and walked out. And it was not a nothing thing. It was like a t-shirt or something very, very small of small value, but she walked out with it. And of course, security stopped her. Now, guys, if you've never been into the security box of a department store like a Nordstrom or a Target or a Walmart, they can see everything. They have cameras and they can zoom in on everything. They can zoom in on the tag on a shirt. It's incredible. We got to go into the security box of a department store. It was Nordstrom, and one of my our clients, and it was
they can read a credit card number off your credit card.
Don't even think about it. But anyhow, with this one particular case, and this happens, we had to, John had to go to court and plead our client not guilty, and she had to testify about, the case was dismissed, but that absolutely would have been an issue. And had we not been this amazing criminal defense lawyer immigration duo, this person would have gone to a criminal defense attorney. This is back in the day before criminal defense attorneys did not ask about a person's legal status in the United States. They just assumed anyone who, spoke English with no accent was a U.S. citizen. And even if they thought the person wasn't a U.S. citizen, they didn't care anyway, because they didn't know that it was important. And we went to the mat for this lady, and she probably would have pled guilty to this theft conviction, and she would have had a problem. So that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah. If you, this is just a side note, if you have a criminal case pending, maybe you're not worried about traveling right now. You're just worried about the fact that you've got a court case coming up, a trial. Radlin brings up a really good point. You really need to make sure that your criminal defense lawyer knows if you're not a U.S. citizen, so that they can factor that into how they handle the case. I'll give you an example. When I was talking about obstruction of justice, one of the things that I routinely did was convince prosecutors to amend the charges to a resisting arrest, even though that's not really what my client was doing. Resisting arrest, not an immigration problem. Obstruction of justice is an immigration problem. Another example would be to have some active jail time. There's something called the petty offense exception, which says that even if you have a crime involving moral turpitude, it won't be a problem so long as the maximum sentence that you could have gotten was a year or less, and if the actual sentence that you got was 6 months or less, active or suspended. And so under this petty offense exception, you're actually better off to have a 6-month sentence, and maybe you serve 10 days of it rather than 12 months with all of it suspended.
Oh yeah.
You might think to yourself, oh, but I don't want to go to jail. Yeah, but if you get the 12-month sentence, even if it's all suspended, now you're going to be inadmissible to the United States. You serve those 10 days on the 6-month sentence and you're fine. So there are ways to thread this needle, but you need to make sure that your criminal defense lawyer knows what they're doing.
Right. That's a good point. And you, if you're falling under the petty offense exception, they still might give you a deferred, parole you in, not as a lawful permanent resident, but just parole you in and saying, we need to look at your documents. So that's why we always really encourage people who have a criminal conviction, or even a criminal charge that was found and you were found not guilty. You have to carry those documents with you when you travel, for sure. So we've only touched on crimes.
Yeah.
But it's the one where we get the most questions.
It is.
And Safayette here has, can adjournment and contemplation to dismissal be an issue for LPR/immigration? So maybe you don't have your green card yet, and maybe you're applying for a green card. Number one, I don't know what that is. It doesn't sound like anything that could be here in the Commonwealth of Virginia.
It's probably similar to a finding under advisement.
Okay.
We don't call it an adjournment in contemplation, but it's probably similar. But yeah.
Oh, you want to speak on that for a little bit?
As we said before, that's, that can be an issue. Yes. Because if you have, assuming that's what it is, and then you go back to court, as I said, and it gets dismissed, Yeah, that still is a conviction for immigration purposes. And the reason is because for those cases to happen, there have to be facts sufficient for a finding of guilt, but then the case gets pushed out while you do the anger management or whatever. So that's another example where if you have a criminal defense lawyer who knows about the immigration consequences, they can do other things. Like I routinely had my clients have deferred findings, but I always asked the judge to enter a not guilty plea, and then we agreed to the deferment. And then that way there was no admission of the guilt. There was just a not guilty plea. We denied the facts, but still did the adjournment because there was nothing in the state code that prevented us from doing that. That's a tiny little thing that makes a huge, huge difference in the immigration case.
Yes, it was a sad day for non-U.S. citizens when John retired from the courtroom because he was an absolute whiz at threading the needle and making sure that the criminal conviction or charge or whatever it was not going to be an issue for immigration purposes. Because really, and we're kind of getting a little bit off of the topic here, that's usually a bigger issue than the misdemeanor charge, right?
Yeah.
It's usually the bigger issue than misdemeanor charge. So let's grab a question over there. It sounds like there are a couple of
we had one. Can I travel with an extension letter?
So yes, you have a I-751 extension, or you have an I-90 extension. Yes, you can travel with that extension letter. Just again, we're not talking about documents here, but that's a really very good question. We're really talking about things that may have happened to you or that you've done that would prevent you from coming back into the United States. So, but yes, you can travel with that.
All right, and Lena said, I'm a U.S. citizen. Is it safe to travel to like Korea or Vietnam? As Radlin said at the opening, absolutely. If you're a U.S. citizen, you don't need to be concerned about this at all.
Right, exactly. All right, so Cecile says, will hit and run conviction that was cleared from back in 1997 be an issue to travel outside the United States? Will my person need an immigration lawyer to see so she won't have an issue coming back? So Cecile, 1997, that was a really long time ago. Hit and run. What do we think? I mean, it could be a crime of moral turpitude, potentially.
Yeah. Hit and run was always an odd one because there has to be an element of force. And so it really would depend a little bit on the facts. If it's just like, you accidentally hit a car, didn't stop, decided to leave the scene because you panicked or whatever, then probably it will not be a problem. But that's the reason we don't give legal advice, is because we don't know all the facts. You would definitely want to have somebody take a look at the facts of the case and what actually happened. I know you may think you know what happened. I don't mean you don't remember. I just mean, how the pleadings, how it came out in the court documents.
Right. And this is not available anymore. The 1997 documentation of this is most likely not available anymore. And so sometimes we'll do an FBI background check to see if there are any details in the FBI background check. And, the person coming back into the United States will need to explain themselves as to what happened potentially right now. I mean, again, these super old convictions, it still can pop up. One thing that your friend, I think you're asking about a friend, can do to potentially cure this, and please reach out to us so we can evaluate, is can your friend apply for U.S. citizenship and cure this, right? Say it is an inadmissible offense. And so, we do advise our clients to not travel sometimes. Like, no, do not travel outside the United States. Let's wait until you can become a U.S. citizen and you'll be fine, right? This 1997 thing that was cleared up, we don't know what cleared up means. It is something that is obviously outside of the 5-year good moral character period of applying for U.S. citizenship, and it's a remedy. The U.S. citizenship cures a lot of issues that would otherwise make you inadmissible to come into the United States. I mean, I'll give you an example. Well, before I do that, I just want to reintroduce ourselves. My name is Radlin Mendoza, and this is my husband and law partner, John Gardner. We started our law firm 25 years ago, and we know so much more than we did when we started our law firm 25 years ago when we were half our age, right? And we're super excited to be here. We come to you live every Wednesday night or almost every Wednesday night. If we have to change the date, then, it's usually once a week. And we are now doing very specific topics for 30 minutes and answering your questions. It used to be, for 5 years, just a Q&A for an hour, but we really wanted to dig into some of these things where you guys are concerned about and answer the questions regarding those. So super happy that you guys are here. We've got people who have registered and signed up and are here, and we really, really appreciate it because your questions are not just helping you, they're also helping other people who are on this live and who may be watching it. So if any of this is causes you to feel a little bit nervous in your belly, if your heart's racing a little bit when we're talking about this, give us a call. We're immigration attorneys. We've been doing this for a really long time, and we are here to help and just to make sure that you're safe. Your vacation outside of the United States shouldn't be a nightmare coming back in.
Right.
And we will tell you not to travel. One of our clients just called us and I said, I'm sorry, you can't travel. There was a family member who was a very close family member who was very, very ill. And we said no, because the things that were going on with this particular client was not going to be good for when he entered the United States. So it's a very, very important question. And we are not here to scare you whatsoever. We are here to calm you, hopefully. And for those of you who might be scared, for you to give us a call and just let us clear it up and let us help you. Like Cecile's friend, let us help you file for U.S. citizenship.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't need us to scare you. Anyone who's traveled internationally, going into another country or coming back into the United States, I don't care who you are. I'm a U.S. citizen coming back into the U.S. and I'm a lawyer. And you're in that line. It's it gets you. Everybody gets that slight little butterfly in the stomach when you go up there. It's a nerve. It's just a naturally nervous thing to participate in. So we want to make sure that you don't have any.
Even if you've done nothing wrong, you still
exactly.
It's very nerve-wracking. It's like police driving behind you.
Yep. We have a client. Where are we located? Our office is physically located in Virginia Beach, Virginia, on the East Coast of the United States, but we do all of our work virtually. So we have clients all over the country and all over the world. So you don't have to be here in Virginia for us to help you out.
Immigration law is federal law. Jinx. Immigration law. We're finishing each other's sandwiches and sentences.
That's right.
All right. We have another question.
My mom, how are you? I have a question. I'm going to travel to the U.S. just for vacation. Is it safe?
Where are you going? No. So is it safe to travel to visit your mom in the United States? Maybe you're coming in to the United States on a B1, B2, and if you have a B1, B2 visa and you don't have any criminal record history, it should be fine for you to come into the United States. Is it safe? Just generally, because of the things that you're hearing in the news, it's generally safe. The things that are happening with immigration are in different cities that, I guess it also depends on what city you're going to. So there's a lot going on, as everyone may know, in St. Paul, Minnesota. And there was a lot going on in Chicago. Our daughter lives in Chicago and she really hasn't seen anything. She feels safe there. And it just really depends on where you're traveling. So I would still say that it's safe to come into the United States. Now, we are on many countries do not travel list now. The United States is on many countries do not travel list because of this immigration and really what's happening to tourists from outside the United States who are, getting detained and delayed and sent back. And, I don't know the circumstances of those particular incidents. We see them. I think it is generally still safe though. there are thousands of people who come into the United States as visitors.
Okay, we'll grab one more from TikTok here and then head back to Facebook. Daniel wants to know, can I apply N400 with one misdemeanor disorderly conduct in 2020 and it was dismissed in 2021? Otherwise, no record. What do you tell Daniel?
Dismissed on the merits. I would say probably.
Yeah.
And I would say I am not giving you legal advice. So what that means is
call us.
Probably that's what it means. That's what it means.
What it means is call us,
yeah,
and we will handle your case for you.
Yeah. I mean, guys, I invite you. So this is about this. Daniel is asking about an N400. You know who processes N400? It's the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services, that arm of the Department of Homeland Security. Now, I invite you after this live, not now, don't leave. You want to hear the end of this, but after this live, I invite you to go to USCIS's Instagram or Facebook page and just scroll through their posts. Just scroll and you will see one post after another with handcuffs, with people getting arrested at their interviews, with don't come in here with a criminal record or you will be deported. You're on your way out if we can put these handcuffs on you. It is crazy. Like the messaging from USCIS, and I've never seen anything like this before in my 25 years with their social media or with any of the communication that they put out. They are benefits. They give benefits. ICE can do that. Fine. You're Immigration and Customs Enforcement. You do it. Have your Instagram and your Facebook and your social media say all that. But USCIS, no, they give the benefits, and it's all about USCIS working with ICE to get criminal illegal aliens out of the United States. And I would never use illegal aliens. No, I don't use that type of language. But if you look at USCIS's Instagram and social media, there's your answer there, whether you should hire an attorney to help you with any of your immigration processes, whether you have a criminal record history or not. But check it out. All right. Well, let's move on really, really quickly to any type of drug conviction. So any type of drug conviction, including a marijuana conviction, even if it's old, if it's not clear about the amount of the marijuana, and it usually isn't less than 30 grams, then you're probably going to have a problem when you are coming back into the United States. So make sure that you carry your certified disposition. I'm not saying like marijuana is decriminalized in many states, guys. And they used to also, before it was decriminalized in the states, they used to issue misdemeanor tickets, right? They used to issue a misdemeanor possession of marijuana. And then what happened to it, right? Wasn't there like a year, good behavior? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. For marijuana, that was a perfect example. You go, you do some drug counseling classes, you go back a year later, it was dismissed.
It was dismissed.
It's called a first offender statute.
First offender. It's similar to the adjournment and contemplation to dismiss, right?
Presumably, yeah.
Right. Yeah, right. So, you only need one client who has a misdemeanor possession of marijuana charge to be coming in as a lawful permanent resident. Well, he became our client. And for that particular client to get arrested at a deferred inspection, I was there, right? And there wasn't anything that I could do about it at that moment in time, but he had to go through the court system. He had to, we had to file a waiver, and we had to prove the amount of marijuana that he had, that it was in fact less than 30 grams. Now, this is a college kid, and it completely turned his life upside down to be in immigration jail. And immigration jail is just jail. It's just jail. It's not like some special thing. It's probably even worse, right? It's even worse now. So he's in jail for 4 months until the judge grants him relief, because that's how long it took to get his case through. And I'm never going to forget that, because this really disrupted his life. He's doing great now. Yeah. And again, good people sometimes make mistakes, and that can still happen to you if you have a marijuana conviction. So you have to be really careful. And again, that client is now a US citizen because naturalization cured that. I mean, I don't want to say cured. That's not really the legal. I mean, but we'll say cured because that's how immigration lawyers see naturalization as a remedy to these things that make our lawful permanent resident clients inadmissible. So watch out for drugs, watch out for especially marijuana, because everybody thinks that marijuana is not a big deal. And it really can be when you're coming back into the United States, right?
Okay, we are 35 minutes in.
Oh,
So
we're wow. Okay.
Let me grab this last question on Facebook
Okay.
though before we cut out of here.
Well, we started late, so
Yep.
we started 5 minutes late.
Yeah.
Okay. So he said, should I renew my green card? Expires October 2026, but I applied for naturalization on November 2025. Should I renew my green card? No, you should not have to. Take a look at Ryan. Take a look at your naturalization. And you take a look at your N400. I still believe that they have the language there that it. Well, don't quote me on this, but I still believe that it has the language on there that the permanent resident status is extended. But what you can do if you'll feel a little bit safer or better about it, Ryan, is you can make an info pass appointment and you can get either a passport stamp in your passport to show temporary proof of your lawful permanent residency, an I-551 stamp, or you can get like an I-551 card if you don't have a passport, and you can carry that around. So I understand why you might be hesitant to not have any documentation, but good job applying for naturalization, and hopefully you get that interview soon.
All right. Ray here says ambulance chasers. That's funny.
We're ambulance chasers. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, nice try, Ray.
John runs fast enough to chase an ambulance. He does. John's a marathon runner.
Yeah, we're not ambulance chasers. I don't think anyone are ambulance chasers. But if you wanted to correctly take that shot at lawyers, personal injury lawyers are the lawyers that you're looking for, not immigration. You got the wrong group.
All right.
Next question, last question. My wife's green card will expire in 2027. What should I do?
2027. So you're a year out. You can't really renew that until you're about 180 days out. If your wife is eligible for naturalization, what you should do is persuade her to give us a call and let us help her with her naturalization to become a U.S. citizen.
Okay.
Are we done with our questions?
Yeah, Ryan says thank you so much.
It's so strange only doing 30 minutes. We talked about the most important things, I believe. And I will add just to add it in there a couple more things. As John mentioned at the very beginning, just inadmissibility, right? That's what are the things that make you ineligible to come back in, even when you're already a lawful permanent resident. And one thing is abandonment. So if you stay outside of the United States for more than 180 days, it's usually really only, well, I'm not going to say really only because things have changed a little bit, but it typically kicks in after a year, but it can kick in after 180 days where you've been outside of the United States for 180 days as a lawful permanent resident, and you come back in and they say, hey, you've been out for more than 180 days. Show us why we should allow you in as a lawful permanent resident. Show us that you haven't abandoned your green card. So abandonment is another way for people to, lose their permanent resident status, and could be trouble if you're coming back into the United States after a long period outside of the United States. So that's another one that we wanted to mention. So, all right.
Okay.
Next week we'll be here. We will have a different topic. If there's something that you would like for us to talk about for 30 minutes and answer your questions, please put it in the comments. But we really had a great time tonight. Thank you so much for your questions.
And if you're trying to reach us, you can call our office. Our phone number is 757-464-9224. Again, that's 757-464-9224. 9224, and you can speak with our intake folks and see if it is something that we might be able to help you out with. Okay.
Okay. And one last thing, guys, please like and follow our socials. We will be having a webinar next week. The webinar is going to feature we're going to be featuring our guest, Odette Causey, and she is a retired senior immigration officer. She was with the service for 42 years. I had the pleasure of working with her for 20 of those years, 25 of those years. And she's retired now, and we're going to go through a very fun webinar of the top 10 mistakes that you guys make when you're completing your application. So you're not going to want to miss that.
Don't want to miss that.
So please like and follow. We will be posting that up very soon for a link where you can register, and please let your friends know if they want to know what are the top 10 mistakes that you guys make when you're self-filing your applications. Yep. All right, guys.
You're going to hear it from the officer herself.
Yep.
She knows.
Retired officer.
Okay.
But thank you, TikTok. Thanks for your questions.
All right, everyone. Have a great night. We will see you next week. All right.
All right.
Two thumbs up. Take care, everyone.